Welcome to Viewpoint on Ukraine Today. My name is Tamara Rosevan, and in our studio I'm joined by Mr. Bate Toms, the chairman of the British-Ukrainian Chamber of Commerce. Welcome to Viewpoint.
Pleased to be here.
So let's talk about the Budapest Memorandum. I hear that some members of the British-Ukrainian Chamber of Commerce are concerned about how it has been undermined.
There's a lot of concern, and it's not necessarily the concern that you hear most often in the press. Yes, there's a violation. Yes, it shouldn't have occurred. But the thing that bothers my members most is that the violations of the Budapest Treaty have undermined the system of nuclear nonproliferation in the world. Ukraine was given security guarantees based on which it disarmed. It got rid of 5,000 nuclear weapons, then the world's third largest nuclear arsenal. In doing so, it received guarantees of its territorial integrity. That has been violated. I hear lots of reports of other countries now understanding that if the Budapest Treaty isn't ultimately shown to be effective, if Russia doesn't leave the territories that are occupied, that they will develop nuclear weapons. This is already going on in some countries, Iran and others. The ultimate consequence of the violation of the Budapest Memorandum will be dozens and dozens of new nuclear powers. It will then become impossible to control all nuclear weapons. And we can then fear, reasonably, the development of nuclear terrorism.
So why isn't the West reacting to this?
I think the Russians have put the world in a difficult position. I think the world's trying to do the best it can. Russia was everybody's friend. Nobody really wants a war with Russia. It is up to Russia to understand the consequences of what they're doing and to change their policies and to come up with a solution consistent with their obligations on the Budapest Memorandum. It is in Russia's long-term security interest.
Okay, let's talk about the British-Ukrainian Chamber of Commerce. How exactly do Ukrainian companies, can they get to the opportunities provided by your organization in the UK? And how do they go about doing this?
Well, the UK is a very open market. We advise people on how to set up. We introduce them to people, lawyers, accountants, who can help them set up. The UK is, I think, probably the most open market in Europe. Mm-hmm. So whatever you're doing, when you're doing it well enough here that you're ready to expand, the UK is a good market to look at.
What are some of the concerns that British companies maybe tell you before they invest in Ukraine?
I think the principal concern is rule of law. We hear this over and over. The second principal concern is political risk insurance. As for rule of law, our chamber has a proposal for a legal ombudsman who will protect Western investors if they receive decisions in courts that take away their property without any legal basis. It's a hugely important measure. We think it needs to be adopted as soon as possible. After rule of law, we hear people ask about political risk insurance. Political risk insurance is important even if there's stability on the military front, just to reassure people, just to reassure the boards of Western companies that if the worst happens, they're protected. And what is very important now is for the World Bank to do for Ukraine what they did for the West Bank and Gaza. And that is to get MIGA, the Multilateral Insurance Guarantee Agency, to extend their full political risk insurance program to Ukraine, irrespective of the actual risk from war, as they've done for the West Bank and Gaza. Right now, no policies are being written by MIGA for Ukraine, even though they have several $100 million of insurance available. Mm-hmm.
Well, let's just talk about the legal ombudsman first. Do you believe that it's a solution to kind of overhaul the court system? But as I understand, the legal ombudsman, their main task will be to write a report and provide instructions on how to deal with it and kind of suggest this to the Ukrainian parliament.
The idea of the legal ombudsman is not to be a second Supreme Court, not to generally intervene in the legal system. It's only there to cure abuses where judges are issuing rulings to dispossess people, investors in particular, from their property without any genuine legal basis. In those situations, based on separation of powers, just like the courts exercise control over the constitutionality of laws, the Parliament can exercise control over judges who abuse their powers. Mm-hmm. They can sanction judges, they can impeach judges. There's been no use of that power. And we think that the business community should come together, create the legal ombudsman with the support of the government, and have the legal ombudsman as a reassurance to foreign investors.
As I understand, no judge has been impeached since the Euromaidan revolution, and judges in Ukraine are appointed for life.
Correct, but they can be impeached.
But they can be only impeached if the Ukrainian parliament votes for it.
Correct. We're not saying the legal ombudsman will have the power to do this. We're setting up the legal ombudsman as in Sweden, mm-hmm. where it began. Sweden was probably the most corrupt country in Europe in 1900. Sweden today is probably the least corrupt country in the world.
But it took, hundreds of years.
It took less than a decade to make a fundamental change in 1900. I believe that change here can occur in a very short period of time. If 2 or 3 judges were impeached because they abused their powers, the judges in Ukraine are smart. I don't think you would find another case very easily. There is one other thing that I would add to this. We believe that judges need to be paid more in this country. Mm-hmm. That judges shouldn't be tempted to abuse their powers because they're having trouble taking care of their families. We believe the European community presently, while Ukraine is suffering economic problem, should fund this until Ukraine recovers.
But on a list of priorities, making bigger salaries for judges, should that be a priority for the Ukrainian government?
I believe it should be a priority for the European Union and the U.S. I believe that they should step up with a fund to help increase the salaries of people who are deciding cases involving millions and millions, in some cases billions, of dollars of investor money. Investors need a reassurance. They need to feel that they don't have to pay vast amounts of money to arbitrators to decide their cases. Ukrainian courts need to be improved, and this is a way to do it. It is a cheap price to pay if you get greater foreign investment.
Mm-hmm. So how effective is this legal ombudsman going to be, in your opinion?
I think completely effective and quickly effective. Of course, it depends on having the right man chosen as the legal ombudsman. We have an excellent candidate, and as soon as we get some more support for this, we will go public with this person. But Harvard, Oxford, practiced law here for a long time, a person of impeccable integrity. With the right person, with opinions that are respected, that call attention to abuses in Parliament, this will, I believe, end a practice which has been going on in Ukraine, which is that too often we see decisions in important cases involving important property interests being decided without any genuine legal basis.
Thank you for joining me here today.
Thank you.
This has been Mr. Bate Toms, the chairman of the British-Ukrainian Chamber of Commerce. You've been watching Viewpoint.